So far, in this short video series, we have looked at giving as an act of worship, giving our first fruits, and giving out of obedience. We've looked at the concept of tithing, of giving a proportion of our income to the local church, and now we're going to look at what Jesus has to say about sacrificial giving. In Mark 12, there's a powerful story of what a heart and a life of sacrificial giving looks like. Mark 12:41 says, Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." Jesus was watching. And the first thing I want to point out from this story is that Jesus was watching. Not very British, I know, but he was watching what people put into the offering at the temple treasury. Jesus watched many rich people come and put large amounts into the offering. And then this widow comes along and she is the one Jesus focuses on. I love this picture of Jesus watching rich person after person come and giving out of their plenty. And then this widow comes and gives just the 2 copper coins. And Jesus calls over the disciples. I can imagine it. Hey lads, come and learn. Take a look at this. Just look at what this lady has given. Isn't this amazing? These 2 copper coins would be the equivalent to around £1.50 today. Jesus sees the importance of the £1.50 and seems less impressed by the large amounts the rich gave. Why is that? Well, before I move on to the why, let's just again reflect on the fact that Jesus was watching. He was watching as people came and gave. And Jesus is interested in how we use the money that he has released into our hands. And he is watching us today. He knows our motives. He sees how we spend our money. He sees everything. He sees it all. Jesus is watching our lives, and he is watching our offering. He is watching our giving. This is a pretty profound thought, don't you think? He isn't watching because he needs our money. He's watching for something far, far more important. He's looking at our heart, at our sacrifice. Do you remember? Jesus turns to the disciples and he starts with this phrase, "Truly I tell you, truly I tell you." And when Jesus uses this phrase or one similar, he's emphasizing the truth and importance of what he is about to say. And it's at this moment, teaching his disciples, looking at this woman, Jesus is about to say something really important. What I'm about to say really matters. Listen up. This poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all that she had to live on. I imagine the disciples might have been just a bit confused. I wonder if Jesus left a lengthy gap between the first and the second sentence. This poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. The disciples probably thought, what is he talking about? 2 copper coins? That's the smallest amount, not the biggest. Everyone, pretty much, everyone else has put more into the treasury. He must be mistaken. But then Jesus continues. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all that she had to live on. Do you see how pivotal this teaching is? How foundational it has to be to our understanding of giving, of our offerings to the church? Jesus isn't interested in the amount. No, he's interested in the sacrifice. I'm going to say that again. He's not interested in the amount. He's interested in the sacrifice. This widow came to worship God. And she gave her worship to God out of the little she had, a true sacrifice. The rich came, but not one of their gifts required sacrifice. They gave out of their surplus. It had no impact on their lives. They didn't have to go without or make financial choices. They could afford to give a lot without missing out on anything. But this widow, she gave it all. She sacrificed all she had. And Jesus was soon to sacrifice his whole life for humanity, to be mocked, to be tortured and crucified for our sin and our rebellion. He was about to give everything, to sacrifice everything. So giving out of surplus just doesn't cut it as an act of worship, Jesus is saying. An offering that requires sacrifice is worship. In this poor widow, Jesus saw his kingdom, saw someone who was willing to give everything and trust everything to God. So what about our call to sacrificial generosity? In the story, Jesus teaches us an important principle, that our giving is not just about tithing, giving, 10%. It's not about first fruits. It's not even about obedience. It may well have been that these rich people came and did all of those things. What Jesus teaches us is that giving should cost us something. Giving should be a sacrifice. That is worship. And Jesus rarely asks us to give to the level of this widow, but he does invite us all to give sacrificially, to give as an act of worship, to give in a way that responds to the sacrifice that Jesus made for each and every one of us. Here's another way to maybe look at it. When we fast and when we pray, we go without food. And after a while, our bodies, our tummies usually are telling us it is time to eat. We're hungry. We need food because we've gone without a meal or two. And in that attitude of fasting, we worship and pray, recognizing it all comes from God. We deprive our bodies of food when we fast to remind our hearts that we need God for everything. When we give sacrificially, when our giving means we can't do everything we want to do, when we deprive ourselves of something that we want, maybe some kind of a treat we've been looking forward to, maybe some new clothes, maybe a holiday, maybe even splashing out on a car or a new car, whatever it might be for you. This cost of giving, the cost of this act of worship, well, it's powerful because it demonstrates that Jesus is the most important in our lives and that we understand that it all comes from God. So my invitation today comes in two questions. Firstly, does my giving actually cost me anything? And secondly, is my giving sacrificial or comfortable? And I'll leave you with those two questions to ponder in prayer and respond.